الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وآله وصحبه أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, my dear children and grandchildren, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, I'm going to talk about persevering patiently in the face of calamities. I'm dedicating today's talk to a young Muslim family in Birmingham who unfortunately lost their daughter during her honeymoon in Malaysia a few weeks ago. This brother, Muhammad Ibrahim, and his wife Hafsa, and the daughter who was lost was Ammara. Unfortunately, the family are going through very difficult times at the moment, and I want just to reassure them that all our prayers, our thoughts, our hearts are with them, because this is the most hard test anyone can go through. And I remember my mother used to say, "Please Allah, I'm so weak, do not test me in my children." The daughter had her wedding today, and tomorrow she went to her honeymoon, and she unfortunately died in a major accident. So you can imagine even the timing, or last week and then another day, unfortunately. So our hearts and our prayers are with them. So starting today from Surah Al-Hadid, the iron, chapter 57. I want you to listen carefully, please, because we are all going to be tested. You have no choice. You have no choice. Whether you like it or you don't like it, you are going to be tested. You go to school to be tested. You go to university to be tested. You go to your work, you will be tested as well. But the tests of Allah are different from the tests you have at school or you have at work. So please, listen very carefully. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Starting from verse 22, chapter 57, the iron, Al-Hadid. ما أصاب من مصيبة في الأرض ولا في أنفسكم إلا في كتاب من قبل أن نبرأها إن ذلك على الله يسير. No misfortune, no calamity can happen on earth or in your own souls, but is recorded in a book before we bring it into existence. That's truly easy for Allah. لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم والله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. In order that you may not despair over matters that pass you by, nor exult over favors bestowed upon you. For Allah does not love any arrogant boasters, so that you should not grieve for that which you could not gain, nor should you be puffed up at what has been given to you. We believe in the unseen. It's one of the pillars of faith. And these tests are written already, predestined. You cannot escape them. And Allah clearly states here, it has been recorded in a book before it happens. External disasters or misfortunes may strike people's eye or imagination, but there are worse crises and misfortunes in the spiritual world, which are of equal or greater importance to man's future. All this happens according to the will and the plan of Allah. Even where we are allowed the exercise of our own wills, the consequences that follow are in accordance with the laws and the plan decreed by Allah beforehand. We always pray that Allah doesn't make our musibah in our deen. Allahumma la taj'al musibatana fi dinina. Imagine when your musibah affects your deen, your faith, your religion. This is the real musibah. Anything else we can tolerate. Maybe it will be replaced. You'll be rewarded for it in the hereafter. But when the musibah is in your deen, in your faith, unfortunately, that's it. In the external world, what people may consider misfortune or good fortune may both turn out to be illusory. In Kipling's words, both impostors just the same. The righteous man does not grumble if someone else has positions, nor exult if he has them. He does not covet and he does not boast. If he has any advantages, he shares them with other people, as he considers them not due to his own merits, but as gifts from Allah. Let me read the two verses together in English, please. No misfortune, no calamity, no disaster, no test can happen on earth or in your own souls, but is recorded in a book before we bring it into existence. That is truly easy for Allah. إِنَّ ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرٌ. In order that you may not despair over matters that pass you by, nor exult over favors bestowed upon you. And Allah does not love any arrogant boasters. In Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, كل نفس ذائقة الموت. Every soul is going to have a taste of death, whether you like it or you don't like it. We are all going to die, whether we die or we are. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. Every soul shall have a taste of death. And the word يذوق, to taste it, each one of us will have a different taste when the body, the soul is leaving the body. Everyone will experience death differently, depending upon his deeds in this life and his destiny in the hereafter. We need to understand that. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. Every soul shall have a taste of death. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً. And we test you by evil and by good, by way of trial. So the evil or the good is a test, both. وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And surely you are all going to return to us. In our life of probation on this earth, our virtue and faith are tested by many things. Some are tested by calamities, and some by the good things of this life. If we prove our true mettle, we pass our probation with success. In any case, all must return to Allah, and then will our life be appraised at its true value. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Mulk, chapter 67, تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. Blessed be he in whose hands is the kingdom, the dominion. وهو على كل شيء قدير, and he has power over everything. الذي خلق الموت والحياة, the one who created death and created life. And here death comes before life. Why? Why he created death and life? ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا, that he may try which of you is best indeed, is best in conduct. So life, while you are alive, you will be tested. And life without test is death. Think about it like that. You have to be tested. You must be prepared mentally, psychologically, spiritually, that you are going to be tested. Whether in your health, in your position, in your children, in your family, in your job, whatever. We are going to. So be prepared, be ready, please. وهو العزيز الغفور. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is the exalted in might, the oft forgiving or the most forgiving. Blessed be he in whose hands is dominion, is the kingdom, and he over all things has power. He who created death and life, that he may try which of you is best in deed or conduct. And he is the exalted in might, the oft forgiving. Let me read footnote 5557. Creation, therefore, is not in mere sport or without a purpose with reference to man. The state before our present life or the state after, we can scarcely understand. But our present life is clearly given to enable us to strive by good deeds to reach a noble state. Do not waste a moment in this life. Please, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Allah swears by the importance of the time that man is always losing, except those who believe and do good deeds and enjoying what is right and enjoying patience. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا. Let us invest every moment we have in this life, because when it goes, it will not come back. خلاص. And Allah is saying, I created death and life to test you. So invest what you have been given, because you are not only made out of blood and flesh and the spirit or soul. No, you are made out of a time. It's a time bomb. Tick, 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 and what is left, it goes off. Prepare yourself for the question time, please. In Surah At-Taghabun, chapter 64, verse 11. ما أصاب من مصيبة إلا بإذن الله. No kind of calamity or disaster or test can occur except by the leave of Allah, except by the will of Allah, except by the command of Allah. بإذن الله. وَمَنْ يُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ يَهْدِ قَلْبَهُ. Whoever believes in Allah would guide his heart. وَاللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. And Allah has knowledge over everything. Let me read the full translation. No kind of calamity or test or disaster can occur except by the permission of Allah, by the will of Allah, by the decree of Allah. And if anyone believes in Allah, Allah guides his heart aright, for Allah knows all things. Footnote 5492. What we consider calamities may be blessings in disguise. Pain in the body is often a signal of something wrong, which we can cure by remedial measures. So, in the moral and the spiritual world, we would in all circumstances hold firmly to the faith that nothing happens without Allah's knowledge and permission. And therefore, there must be some justice and wisdom according to His great universal plan. Our duty is to find out our own shortcomings and remedy them. If we try to do so in all sincerity of heart, Allah will give us guidance. Please remember. In Surah Ash-Shura, chapter 40, chapter 42, or let me take Surah At-Tawbah, chapter 9. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these verses, He was talking about the taunting of the hypocrites at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his followers. And Allah is saying in verse 50, إن تصبك حسنة تسؤهم وإن تصبك مصيبة يقول قد أخذنا أمرنا من قبل ويتولوا وهم فرحون. If good befalls you, Muhammad, it grieves them. But if a misfortune, if a calamity befalls you, they say, oh, we took indeed our precautions beforehand, and they turn away rejoicing. So Allah commanded the Prophet and the believer to respond back to the hypocrites by saying, قُلْ لَنْ يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا هُوَ مَوْلَانَا وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Nothing will happen to us except what Allah has decreed for us. He is our protector. And on Allah, let the believers put their trust. So don't worry. It is قُلْ لَنْ يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. No misfortune would come to you unless and except it has been destined to hit you, to happen to you. And that was the response of Muhammad ﷺ and the believers to the taunting of the hypocrites. And in Surah Ash-Shura, chapter 42, verse 30, وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُم. Listen very carefully to this statement from Allah, please. وَيَعْفُ عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. Whatever misfortune befalls you is a consequence of your own deeds. And He forgives much. Whatever misfortune happens to you is because of the things your hands have earned. And for many a sin, He grants forgiveness. And He forgives much. All evil, all sorrow, all pain and affliction are things not normal, things twisted from the pure and holy nature as created by Allah's hands. As far as man is concerned, his misfortunes are but the consequence of the things he has done. He must bear personal responsibility for them and not throw the blame on others. And in Surah Al-An'am, chapter 6, verse 165. وهو الذي جعلكم خلائف الأرض ورفع بعضكم فوق بعض درجات ليبلوكم فيما آتاكم إن ربك سريع العقاب وإنه لغفور رحيم. It is He who has made you the inheritors of the earth. He has exalted some of you in rank above others, that He may try you by the test of that which He has given you. He has raised you in rank some above others, that He may try you in the gifts He has given you. For your Lord is quick in punishment, yet He is indeed oft to forgiving, most merciful. And in Surah Al-Fajr, chapter 89, Al-Fajr, the dawn. And listen very carefully to this verse, please. فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول رب أكرمن. Verse 15, chapter 89. Now, as for man, when his Lord tries him, giving him honor and gifts, then he says, puffed up, my Lord has especially honored me. وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن. But when Allah tries him, restricting his subsistence for him, then he says in despair, my Lord has humiliated me. كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم. No, you do not honor the orphans. ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين. You don't encourage each other to feed the poor and the needy. وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما. You devour inheritance with all greed. وتحبون المال حبا جما. And you adore wealth with inordinate love. So let me go back to the first two verses, 15 and 16. Allah is telling us here that He would test us by giving us, or He would test us by restricting our means. And both are tests. So there are people who would actually claim that Allah honored them when He gave them this or that. And there are people who would despair and lose their faith when they lose their income or their wealth. So, now, as for man, when his Lord tries him, giving him honor and gift, this is a trial, then he says, puffed up, my Lord has especially honored me. And instead of thanking Allah for the blessings or sharing it with those who are in need, no. He's boasting. He's claiming that because of his merits, because of his knowledge, because of his status, he deserved all the good which has been given to him. He never related it to Allah. And the Quran is full of parables like that. When Qarun was challenged by his own people at the time of Moses, he claimed that his wealth is because of his knowledge. And in Surah Al-Kahf, when the man entered his garden and disputed with his poor friend, what did he say to him? It's all my hard work. Don't bring Allah into it. It's me who did it. وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّ أَهَانَ. But when Allah restricts the subsistence, the means to an individual, he would complain. Look, Allah is unfair. He is unjust. Look what He did to me. What did I do wrong? He complains. And then Allah is giving us the reasons. You do not honor the orphans. You don't encourage each other to feed the poor and the needy. You devour inheritance with all greed. You love money so much. So be aware that what you will be given or what you will be deprived from, they are both this from Allah. They are calamities from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then in Surah Ali Imran, chapter 3, starting from verse 186. لَتُبْلَوُنَّ فِي أَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ. In Arabic, when you have letter L, lam, and the noon at the end, letter noon, it's lam al-qasam and noon al-tawkid, lam al-qasam. When Allah is swearing, the L, the la, comes at the beginning of the word, at the beginning of the verb. And at the end you have noon, in. Noon at-tawkid, to confirm. So Allah here is using lam al-qasam and noon al-tawkid, لَتُبْلَوُنَّ. Surely you will all be tested. What are you going to test us? فِي أَمْوَالِكُمْ, in your wealth, in your money, in your property, وَأَنفُسِكُمْ, in yourselves. Oh my goodness. We are all going to be tested in our wealth, in our properties, in ourselves, in our health. Yes. وَلَتَسْمَعُنَّ مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَمِنَ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا أَذًى كَثِيرًا. And you shall certainly hear much that will grieve you from those who received the book before you, that's the Christians and the Jews, and from those who worship partners besides Allah, the pagans, the idol worshippers. What are we going to hear from them? Much that will grieve us. Listen to the words, please. وَلَتَسْمَعُنَّ, again, lam al-qasam and nun al-tawkid. And surely you are going to hear from those who've been given the book before you, Christians and Jews, وَمِنَ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا, and from the pagans, the idol worshippers, أَذًى كَثِيرًا. You will hear from them much that will grieve you. Yes, we hear it all the time. The insults on Islam and Muslims, the insults on the Quran, the insults on Muhammad. Yes, it's happening all the time. What should we do? What should we do? What is the prescription which Allah is giving us here in this verse? وَإِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا. فإن ذلك من عزم الأمور. But if you persevere patiently, that's what we were talking about. The topic today is how to persevere patiently in the face of calamities, in the face of tests and disasters and trials and tribulations. If we persevere, but if you persevere patiently and guard against evil, وإن تصبروا وتتقوا, if you persevere patient and you fear Allah all the time, فإن ذلك من عزم الأمور, that indeed is a matter of great resolution. Yes, we are going to be tested in our properties, in ourselves, and we are going to hear from those who've been given the book before us and the idol worshippers so much that will grieve us. Yes, unfortunately. But we have to be patient. And not just patient, we have to fear Allah. So, together, be patient and fear Allah. And in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verses 155 to 175. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ, again, verse 155. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. You are going to be tested again. لام القسم النون. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ, you will be tested, surely, definitely. بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ, a bit of fear. You cannot take all the fear. You cannot. You will die. You will have mental health, major mental health issue, and you will die. If you have all the fear, little bit of fear. You are worried about your job, about your family, about your status, about your wealth. You know, the fear which comes to you. والجوع, hunger, famine. ونقص من الأموال, and loss of your money, your wealth, your property. والأنفس, and loss in yourselves. You lose your son, you lose your daughter, you lose your wife, you lose your brother. والثمرات, and the fruits of your toil. وبشر الصابرين, but give glad tidings to those who would persevere patiently. الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة, those when they are being hit with a musibah, with a calamity, with a disaster, with a test, قالوا, they say, إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Immediately, they don't grumble, they don't question Allah, they don't say, why me? Immediately they say, إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. To Allah we belong, and to Him we are going to return. They submit, they accept, they surrender, and this is the meaning of Islam. They are not going to question the decision made by Allah. No. What will happen when they say that? أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. They are those on whom descend the blessings from the Lord and mercy, and they are the ones that receive guidance. Very important. And then in the previous verse, 153, Allah is telling us, يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين. Here comes a very important prescription. O you who believe, seek help in patience and in prayers. If you have a calamity, if you have a test, if you are going through a hard time, increase the amount of prayers you do every day. Wake up during the night and offer some prayers. And in your sujood, humble yourself and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease your conditions. Inna Allah ma'a sabirin. I mean, when you remember this, please, Allah is with those who persevere patiently. Allah is with you. And when you talk about as-sabr, let me read this verse. O you who believe, seek help with patient perseverance and prayer. For Allah is with those who patiently persevere. Remember, Inna Allah ma'a sabirin. So let me mention a few verses regarding the importance of being patient. And when you واستعينوا بالصبر والصلاة, you know, don't disconnect with Allah. Please, if you have a calamity, pray more. Don't despair. Don't despair, because if you despair, it comes from Satan. وقل ربي أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك ربي أن يحضرون. Always remember this. And when Job was tested so hard, what did he say? رب إني مسني الشيطان بنصب وعذاب. رب إني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. So when Jonah was in the tummy of the whale, what did he say? لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. So get closer to Allah. Humble yourself and pray more. It will help you to overcome your calamity. It is painful to lose a child at your own life. It is painful to lose your wealth or to lose your status, and then you find yourself even, you can't afford even to survive. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse 45 chapter 2, واستعينوا بالصبر والصلاة وإنها لكبيرة إلا على الخاشعين, and seek help through patience and prayer, and indeed it is difficult except for the humbly submissive to Allah. And we just mentioned verse 153 chapter 2, O you who believe, seek help through patience and prayer, indeed Allah is with the patient. And you remember Jacob, the father of Yusuf, alayhim as-salatu was-salam, when his children told him that Yusuf was devoured by the wolf, what did he say? فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. I'm going to persevere patiently, but I'm going to enjoy it. So try to enjoy the patience. It's painful. Try to enjoy it. And then when they told him that his son Benjamin committed theft in Egypt, what did he say? Again, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. I'm going to persevere patiently again. The only way out, what else can you do? You have to be patient, but enjoy it. It's very difficult to say that. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. At the end of the story of Yusuf, he said, إنه من يتقي ويصبر فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين. Allah has certainly favored us. Indeed, he who fears Allah and is patient, then indeed Allah does not allow to be lost the reward of those who do good. إنه من يتقي ويصبر. If you fear Allah and you are so patient, Allah will never waste any deeds you have done. And in Surah Al-Ra'd, chapter 13, and those who observe patience in order to seek the pleasure of the Lord and establish regular prayer and spend secretly and openly from what we have given to them and repel evil with good, those are the ones for whom there is the ultimate abode, the eternal garden they enter, and those as well who are righteous from their fathers, spouses, and progeny. The angels will enter unto them from every door, saying, Peace on you for the patience you observed. So how excellent is the ultimate abode. Salamun alaykum bima sabartum. Salamun alaykum bima sabartum. Peace be on you because you persevered patiently. فنعم عقبى الدار. How excellent is the ultimate abode. When Salama, I'm going to mention this and stop. When Salama, one of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when her husband died, and this is a very interesting hadith actually. When her husband died, Abu Salama, she remembered, she said, I heard a hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, whoever would be hit by a calamity and you would say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, to Allah we belong and to Him we should return. And then you say, Allahumma ajurni fi musibati wa akhluf li khayra minha. Please Allah, reward me for my calamity and give me something better. So she said, who would be better than Abu Salama? If I say this dua, who is going to be better than Abu Salama? So she said, but because I heard it from the Prophet, I said it. So Salama said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allahumma ajurni fi musibati wa akhluf li khayra minha. Please Allah, reward me for my calamity and give me something better. Whom did she marry? She married the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Can you imagine? So always remember this. God forbid if you are being hit with a calamity, with a test, with a trial, immediately say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allahumma ajurni fi musibati wa akhluf li khayran minha. And there is a very authentic hadith which I want you, please, to memorize this invocation by heart. Please, I read it in Arabic and then English, and I want you to remember it all the time. Please. The Prophet ﷺ said, if any servant of Allah afflicted with distress or calamities or grief makes this supplication, his supplication will be accepted. ما أصاب أحد قط هم ولا حزن فقال. What is the invocation? In Arabic, اللهم إني عبدك وابن عبدك وابن أمتك ناصيتي بيدك ماض في حكمك عدل في قضاؤك أسألك بكل اسم هو لك سميت به نفسك أو أنزلته في كتابك أو علمته أحدا من خلقك أو استأثرت به في علم الغيب عندك أن تجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلبي ونور صدري وجلاء حزني وذهاب همي إلا أذهب الله همه وحزنه وأبدله مكانه فرجا. So in English, O Allah, I am your servant, son of your servant, son of your maid servant. My forehead is in your hand. You have full control over me. Your command concerning me prevails. Whatever you have decreed or ruled or willed will go through. Your decision concerning me is just. Your judgment is fair. I call upon you. I ask you, I beg you, by every name you have, whether you called yourself with, or you have revealed it in your book, or you have taught it any one of your creatures, or which you have chosen to keep in the knowledge of the unseen with you, to make the glorious Quran the delight and the spring of my heart, the light of my breast, and remover of my griefs, sorrows, and afflictions. A supplication in these words will be answered. That's what the Prophet is saying. Allah will remove one's affliction and replace it with joy and happiness. Thank you very much indeed for listening. And Brother Liaqa,